How's it going? This is Dave, and welcome back. I have a second installment of our video series for you. This is the social media posting segment of the Reddit Pain Point to Social Media workflow series. If you didn't see the last workflow, you can check it out right here. What it is a workflow that scrapes Reddit every day for new pain points, people having problems and issues. Those pain points then become our LinkedIn posts for the next weeks to come. And this way you can be super consistent in your posting schedule by just having a never-ending cycle of lovely pain points, turning them into social media posts, and just being super consistent and having great responses to real-world problems, right? Because that's what we're all trying to do, is bring a little bit of joy and relief into this world and help bring solutions when people have problems, right? I'm gonna do a quick diagram walkthrough of this workflow, and then we'll get into the actual end-to-end workflow. And if you find this helpful, or if you're interested in the workflow yourself, you can find it in the link below. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to subscribe, and we'd love to get a like from you. Thank you so much. Next up is the high-level walkthrough. Okay, so now we're gonna do a quick high-level walkthrough of the workflow. Basically, we have two parts, okay? The first one runs once a week, where it's scheduled to grab all of the pain points that we saved from that Reddit workflow. Okay, so those get grabbed. Boop, check that off. Next step, we use our LLM to generate the posts, and then we update our Google Sheet database. And then part two, we have our scheduled trigger that's running every 15 minutes. Boop, check that off. And that's checking for one of two things. Either we have a scheduled post, and if we do, we go to this path, which is post it to LinkedIn if it's ready to be posted. And then we update our calendar to say that we've posted that. If we don't have anything scheduled, we check our slots to see if we have anything that's ready to be scheduled. And then we post to our calendar. Our calendar isn't really the database. It's not the source of truth. We maintain the Google Sheet as the source of truth. But the calendar is a nice visual representation of all of our posts. So that's the overview. And let's go into N8N and take a closer look. So here we are in our workflow. We have the content generation workflow that runs weekly, and the scheduled post workflow, which checks for posts every 15 minutes. But let's go through each node here. First of all, we have our weekly trigger. That triggers once a week. And this is our Google Sheet node. Get all the pain points where the column for scheduled is set to false. That means it hasn't been scheduled for a post yet. So we grab all of those, and that's the step that separates the posts that have been posted and the posts that haven't been posted. Obviously, in this workflow, we're not interested with posting old pain points. We want to move forward and only post the fresh stuff from the previous week. And then we filter. We make sure that the post to social is true. If that's set to true, then we have already validated that we want that pain point to be utilized. So let's pause for a second. This is basically that moment where you should know when your schedule is going to run so that you can have a chance to go through and curate which pain points you want to be involved. Not all the material is going to be great. You know, you have to filter out what you think would make a good post and what wouldn't. That's the human in the loop step, okay? It's one thing to automate a lot of this, but in order to get the best out of this workflow, you will need to do a little bit of personal validation of the material that you're putting into your workflow. Moving forward, we have our LLM, which as usual does the heavy lifting. This is called few shot prompting because here, begin writing samples. These 3 writing samples are, the idea is that those writing samples are going to be used to get the voice of, you know, the person whose social media feed this is. That way it gives you an opportunity to make it more specific to the voice of the person who owns the social media feed. And so it's not just, you just don't want it to be super generic LLM just churning out, you know, bland stuff, right? You want it to have a particular tone, a particular voice. So by putting in some examples of what you want it to sound like, that is your chance to really drive the tone and the style of the post. You know, also in our LLM, I'm using the simple memory. With a context window of 5, probably should be a little bit bigger, but the idea here is that I noticed that as we were generating the posts, a lot of the same language was being used time after time, and that seems really repetitive and not great. But I gave it a note where it says your job, step 3 is check previously generated posts and avoid using the same language. And that seems to be helping, keeping the language fresh from post to post. That, and coupled with having access to its previous posts, at least the previous 5 posts won't sound like the next one. Right, and then in the end here we say schema, so we tell it the JSON output that we want, post title, and post theme. And then down here we do use the output parser, again, where we reiterate the shape of the JSON that we're trying to get out. And over here is the brain of our agent, LLM, where I use the OpenRouter because it gives you access to all the LLMs. And in particular, right now, I'm using Gemini 2.5 Pro for this workflow. I've had good results there. Right, so next is the merge node, where we can bring the newly generated posts from the LLM together with the previous data and combine those together. Now we add content to the schedule. This is the first time where we're actually going to take what we've done and add it to a different database, not the pain point database, but our content schedule database. So all these fields here need to be filled in for the most part. The ID is coming over from the Reddit post. We're using that because it is a unique ID. And that unique ID will allow for that unique ID allows for all the other data to fall into place. We're putting in the original pain point, and we're putting in the original URL. Very importantly, the status we're calling draft right now. So we have draft, we have published, and we have scheduled. And we set the scheduled date to null. The scheduled date is vital here because that's going to be the time that we scheduled to post the post. And then the last step is we set the original pain point data to scheduled as true, meaning that it is now going to be part of our content posting schedule. So that's the first part. Stick with me for the second part. Also, if this is helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. We're in our second part of our workflow now. The schedule trigger happens every 15 minutes. It's checking to see if we have any posts that were in the past, meaning that they're ready to be posted. So I'm going to run this now. Notice that our calendar is empty. That's about to change. So let me run this, and you'll see it goes down to the bottom branch, the false branch of the if state of the if node. And now we're doing the scheduling process. So the code node is doing a bunch of date formatting here, and this is the function to get the next slot. Here's where we're filtering between the drafts and the scheduled posts. And then an important thing is I always output the data from this node, because here I'm going to check if there is JSON ID. If there's not, and that's empty, then it's actually a no-op. I use the no-op node here. So we do nothing. We update the row here to say that it is now scheduled. And so we loop over there. I'm using the loop because it allows us to batch. So I'm doing a batch size of 10, and that reduces our API calls. Because if I have, 13 items, that's actually 2 API calls rather than 13 API calls. So I think it's always nice to reduce your API calls when you can, right? Then we get all of our rows again that we've just scheduled. So the scheduled rows are there. And then we're creating an event. Now the event is just for visuals. It's connected to our database, and it puts it on our calendar here, which is now populated. If I search for LinkedIn, look at that. We get to see all of our upcoming posts, all scheduled from Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, or I should say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So every other day during the week at 9 a.m. And you can see the post content here. And it's set to be LinkedIn. We're just handling LinkedIn in this workflow. So that all worked well. I think it's a little bit of a bug, but it actually works in our favor in this case, where we are scheduling on today's date. So that means I think I probably have one that's in the past right now. Let's see, today is the 20th, and I have this one here scheduled for 20th at 9 a.m. and it's 6:18 p.m. So that means if I run this workflow again, we're gonna post that. It's gonna go live, and I will delete it shortly after that. So let's run the workflow again, and boom, there it goes. It's been created. Let's take a look at this real quick. So our if node checked if the schedule date is not null, so it's meaning it's been assigned, and the schedule date time is less than now, meaning before now, meaning in the past, then we're gonna go forward on the true branch. And that sends us to our LinkedIn node, where we have our post title and our text, and that returns the URN, which actually, you can see what I do here. If you just append that to linkedin.com feed update and then URN, that becomes the actual link to the post. So I can actually copy and paste this. I can actually copy and paste this right here, and that'll take us directly to the post. And boom, there it is, right on my LinkedIn. And I think the formatting is pretty nice. It has, let's read it real quick. Combating clutter, the power of microactions. That overwhelming feeling when your living space mirrors your mental clutter. We've all been there. The sheer thought of tackling a messy room can be paralyzing, leading to the dreaded, I don't know where to start trap. And then it has a call to action at the end, or a question. What small win could you celebrate today to bring a little more order to your world? So cool, I think that's pretty awesome. So that's there. So I'm gonna delete that now because that's not actually relevant to me personally. But let's see. Oh, where were we in our workflow? So we've created our post and we update the status. So I add that it's now been published. Again, tracking the status is everything with these workflows, right? So status is now published right there. You can see it. And then we have the post link added to our database there. And I tracked the calendar event there so I can use that in the next step, which you'll see. Okay, I'm getting the row by its ID because I want that event ID, which is there. And now I'm using the get event. That grabs me the relevant Google Calendar event. And then I just update the summary here, posted. So now if we go back to our calendar, you see, boom, there it is. It's now listed as posted. Pretty cool, right? I think that's awesome. I think, I haven't implemented this for myself yet, but I'm about to just start automating a bunch of LinkedIn posts because I think this is great, especially again with that human in the loop step where you can validate that, these are posts that you feel, are authentic to your personality and to what you're trying to put into the world, and not just, do some crazy spam or something. That's not what we're about here. There is an ant on my camera. So that's the end of the two-part workflow and the two-part video series on taking your Reddit pain points and turning them into LinkedIn posts. Definitely try this workflow out and let me know how it goes for you. I think there's a lot of potential for this. Think about all the various subreddits that you can be grabbing interesting posts from with people having problems and then responding to those problems in your own posts. And this way you'll never have that problem where you're just like, I don't know what to post about. I need to post something, but I don't know what to say. Right now, you got no excuses. These two workflows are gonna give you gold. If you like this and you found it helpful, make sure you download the free workflow, and also please like and subscribe. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.